What is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade, basketball analysis, giving you a quick take on one of the more popular topics is Lamelo Ball. Should he be starting in Charlotte? They got off to a decent start so far. A lot of people thought this team would be bad. A lot of people thought that this team wouldn't even be even in the playoff playing game. But they have been pretty decent. They still need a consistent scorer as they have Gordon Hayward, but nobody else. They all hot and cold. One game somebody takes off, the next game somebody can't make a shot. And if you want to win in the league, either you're going to have an elite defense or you're going to have both, or you're going to have to be a great offense. And if they can't consistently score, they're going to have to defend to give themselves chances to continue to win enough games to be in the playoffs, which I don't see them doing. But if they can get one more piece, I can definitely see this team being a playoff team in the future, especially if somebody develops or, if they lose a lot of games this year, this is going to be one of the better drafts when it comes to talent. You don't have to get the number one pick to get a great player. And they didn't get that, this year, but they did get Lamelo Ball, who I felt like he had superstar potential. If you can pick him up at 3, then that's what you do, and that's exactly what Charlotte did. He had the highest upside and probably was the best well-rounded player available at that point, and he's proven it. You look at his numbers, and I usually don't use stats, but he has been pretty solid offensively, giving you 43% from the field, which is way better than I thought. And he did come into this season shooting below 40%, which I thought he would do. But he has been able to put together a good stretch of games that has been more efficient than a lot of people predicted. And even though 43% ain't a great percentage, it's pretty decent for a rookie, especially one that wasn't known for being able to score the ball and shoot the ball well. And another thing I would have to say is he's shooting 4.5 threes and shooting them at 35%, which is about where you want to be, is about average and not that far from being above average. I don't really think that that's sustainable. But one thing I do like about Lamelo Ball is the fact that he's taking better ones. If he can get a little closer, because he shoots his threes about 30, 32 feet, he probably can shoot a decent percentage for the entire season. But I like the fact that he's shooting them in space. If guys sag off of him or they're kicking the ball out to him, he's doing no hesitation, confident three-point shooting stroke. And that's something that I didn't really see him doing the last couple years. It seemed like he was just firing shots and taking them whenever he wanted to and however he wanted to. And he's shooting better set shots besides just taking tough off the dribble and off a quick screen fling, which is a way higher percentage shot, and that's probably why he's shooting a better percentage now. Not just the shot selection, the control and the shots that he's getting are way better than what he was doing when he was the man in other places. And we have to see if his shooting, especially from the outside, will continue, because that was his Achilles heel, was his shot selection and shot creation ability. And it does help playing with better teammates. It does help, watching the footage and studying where you can attack and how you can attack. And I think that that's something that can really help him develop into a superstar if he can become one in the future, is just picking his spots, being smart in those spots, and just making the right play. And sometimes he can get too fancy, sometimes he can get too nonchalant, and sometimes he can get pressure into making decisions. And that's when he rushes or overthinks, and then he makes mistakes. And I think that that's something that a rookie should do and a 19-year-old should do. But that's something that you would definitely love to see him get better at in the future, and hopefully he will. He's saying that the game is coming to him a little easy because he is reading and reacting a little bit and playing at his own pace. But if he does get more minutes, that is something to be concerned about, as he doesn't play winning basketball a lot because of his decision making. But you still have to live with it, and it's going to come with growing pains. If you let him off that leash and you allow him to become a starter, you have to live with everything that he does, good and bad. And are you willing to do that right now? And that's why he's coming off the bench, because people feel like he should be starting. But I always told you that he needs a short leash, because he can get a little bit too excited and he can get a little bit too, egotistical sometimes. And that can cause a lot of mistakes and that can cause a lot of frustration. And he did that a lot in preseason, and he did do that a lot in the beginning of the season. But I think it's just humbling to him, coming off the bench, not playing a lot of minutes in certain games in the beginning, and the team, rallying around him and the people rallying around him because he was able to put a couple games together. Now it's just about using it as maturity. You learn from your mistakes, you grow from your mistakes, and it should allow you to become better. And one thing that I had Lamelo Ball in the Rookie of the Year race was because of his well-roundedness when it comes to being able to impact the game outside of scoring. And that's the truth because he's averaging 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and he's only getting you 2.1 turnovers with that, but he's also giving you 12.8 points. I thought he was going to be able to get enough points because I knew he was going to have the shot opportunity, and I knew Charlotte does need, a boost, especially if he was starting off the bench. Like I said, they are missing more scoring and more playmaking, and LaMelo has the ability to do that when he's knocking down shots. And 12.8 points was not crazy for me. I thought he'd be around there. And the rebounds and assists are not blowing my mind either because I thought that he would average a lot of rebounds and assists because that's his game, knowing when to go in for the rebound, knowing when to be in position, and just being active in there will get you a bunch of rebounds. So I thought that that would translate, and it has. And the assist, I knew he was going to have the ball in his hands. He's a point forward because sometimes people play him at the three. Sometimes they let him play a little guard, but he don't defend them. And, if he's going to get a lot of opportunities to have the ball in his hands, he's going to get the assists because that's just natural for him to find guys. And they do have guys that's capable of knocking down shots and guys that's capable of finishing around the rim. It's just about getting them the opportunities, and that's something that LaMelo Ball specializes in, and that's something that has translated to a lot of people loved his passing, and that was one of the biggest reasons why you draft him so high, and it has translated pretty well. So to me, LaMelo, he's an interesting guy. Um, I think that a lot of people call out Devontae Graham and say he's playing so bad and he's playing so terrible. You need to get him out of there and get LaMelo in there. And maybe that is true because you don't really need two guards that's going to take a lot of shots and take a lot of opportunities if they're not going to be efficient and make the right decisions anyway. And if you would have to pick one to come off the bench, why wouldn't it be Devontae Graham, as he is a guy that's a heat check guy and he is a guy that can get hot. Plus, he's not really known as the best, ball mover and facilitator. He's more of a chucker. And that does usually fit a guy that comes off the bench. So I can understand why people will want that. But LaMelo still has a lot of work to do defensively. He has a lot of work to do knowing where to rotate and where to help and being more active defensively than he is now. But I'm not going to be too critical of that either just because he is a rookie and this is his first. He hasn't even played 10 games yet, getting a lot of minutes. So I'm not going to judge him too hard on that. But the question isn't should he be a starter. The question is, after seeing his 12, 6, and 6 and decent efficiency, should he have been the number one pick? And honestly, Anthony Edwards is playing pretty solid. James Wiseman disappointed me a little bit. It kind of do look like he has the best well-rounded and highest upside still. And if anything, you can say if he can pan that out and stay healthy and continue to grow mentally and the game slows down for him and he gets the understanding of the game, he could honestly be the best player in this draft. And that's why a lot of people felt that he could be the number one pick because of his upside and his potential. And usually that's what you're doing when you're drafting the 19, 20-year-old is drafting them for the projection of what they can be in the future. And LaMelo Ball is already showing you his well-rounded game. And it really wasn't a question for that. The question was just his scoring ability. And that's something that we'll have to see. But once he bulks up and once the game slows down and once he understands when to attack, when to be patient and wait for the openings and knowing where his guys are at by building chemistry and, consistency with them, then he could be a very special player and even be a 20-point scorer while still getting the rebounds and assists and a couple steals a game. And then it'll just be about can his shooting continue to be consistent, which is one of the hardest things to do in the NBA is being a consistent shooter outside of the paint. And that was his biggest Achilles heel. And that hasn't been too much of a problem. But once he started getting double teamed in traps as he grows, he's going to have to, learn when to pick his spots then too, when to score, when to facilitate, and being able to knock down those shots when they're more difficult, which he has shown in the past that he isn't afraid of those things, but he also did struggle because of those things, to be fair. And I don't really see that changing right now. But that is something he's going to have to adjust and get adapted to, as there's no higher level than the NBA. This is as high as it's going to go. So there's no next level for him. It's just about taking his game to the next level and just becoming the best player he can be, and then possibly an all-star or even a superstar in the future. So I do think, I'm looking at it now, he probably should have been the number one pick, especially for a team like Minnesota. But also being in Charlotte allows him to grow with guys around his age, and it allows him to be, more featured than a team like Minnesota would have had, because they do have D'Angelo Russell, Millie Beasley, and Towns, and Rubio already. So I don't think he would have had the same opportunity. And obviously, him playing in Golden State wouldn't work as much because they do have Draymond Green, who plays a similar role offensively while still having Steph, and then they will eventually have Clay back. And I don't think that he would be much of a necessity for that team like he would be with Charlotte. And some people think like that too. Those opportunities and those chances does come depending on where you're drafted and how you're used. And Charlotte, if they do decide to start him this year, will give him the opportunity that he probably wouldn't have had in those situations. And those two guys make sense in where they got drafted. And there was the fit that mattered more than the fit with Lamelo Ball. So I can see both sides, and I can see where people are coming from. But now it's just up to Lamelo to master his game, harness his brain, and get the best out of his abilities in his body. And maybe 2 to 3 years, we can see him in the All-Star game or close to it. So I'm pretty impressed with them. Check out my website, analysisplayground.com. Link in the description, comment section below. Check out my Facebook page, analysisplayground.com. Link in the description, comment section below. Like, Facebook to show support. Thanks for everybody that likes on Facebook. Checks it out. You can also buy merchandise that's exclusively on my Facebook page. You can change the hat, change the shirt, customize it the way you want it to be. You can also find merchandise on my spread shirt. There will also be in the description in the comment section below. If you're new to the channel, I upload every single day, one video a day, whether it's breakdowns of players, legends, rookies, we have players, legends, rookies, summer league covers, free agency covers, trade deadline, top 10 list, season previews, and even playoff prediction and discussions of the hottest topics. I have you covered on there. Other than that, enjoy the rest of your day. Quinn Wade, I'm gone. And let me know what you guys think about Lamelo Ball as I read every comment too.